Now, detonate the reality bomb!
I will build a great, great wall.
Some alien race to come down and threaten us.
Is the singularity near?
The truth is out there.
The military-industrial complex.
The 7 mountains of the influencers of culture.
To be as gods, you know.
Change has come to America.
Catapult the propaganda.
From a secure location on top of the ridge in the heart of the beautiful Missouri Ozarks, this is A View from the Bunker. Now, here's Derek Gilbert.
Sun is going down in the west. The coyotes aren't out yet, but it is last call at the Hummingbird Feeder, and that means, once again, it's time for A View from the Bunker. Tonight, who or what is the Daily Renegade? What does he want? How do I get one? Josh Peck tells all in just 30 minutes here. Also tonight, we talk about colorizing the 2020 election. Thor is a girl. No! Exercising Congress and exercising a city by helicopter drop. Plus, can a music festival in honor of Woodstock be a Mars Hill moment? We talk with Pastor Caspar McCloud after 8:30 p.m. tonight. All that and more tonight on A View from the Bunker Live. I'm Derek Gilbert. Welcome. It's July 21st, 2019. We thank you for joining us tonight wherever you might be listening, whether it's Spreaker.com, where the chat room is now open, iHeartRadio, Stitcher.com, Spotify.com, or wherever else fine podcasts are sold. Of course, if you're going to subscribe to the podcast, you can do that via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and you can find links to all of those fine establishments at vftb.net, which is the worldwide hub for A View from the Bunker. Of course, the easiest way to get all of these programs, just download the free mobile app. Install it on your smartphone or tablet. We've got apps for iOS devices and Android devices, and you'll find links at vftb.net. Of course, if you prefer the YouTube interface, we send all of these audios to YouTube as well. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Derek Gilbert. No video yet. We're still, we're too far out in the country for the fast internet to reach us, so we just do audio only, kind of old school. Back in my day, we just had radio, and we liked it. Social media, facebook.com/View from the Bunker, on Twitter at View from Bunker or at Derek Gilbert, either way. And, of course, still testing out the new social media site, oneway.com at Derek P. Gilbert. Also checking out a new one that Sharon recommended called Savior Connect. SaviorConnect.com, another Christian social media site, and you'll find me there at Derek P. Gilbert as well. Just getting in the habit of remembering to post to all of these different locations. But we're basically everywhere, and that's just our strategy for taking over the world, one social media site at a time. What is going on this week? Well, Ebola has finally caught the attention of the World Health Organization. That's actually being a bit snarky. The WHO has been watching the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo very closely. Just a little surprising that it took 4 meetings for the WHO to declare it a global health emergency. I mean, once it hit a town of 800,000 people, which it did several weeks ago, thought that might have been enough to warrant the global health emergency declaration. But they waited until this past week, where it turned up in the city of Goma, which is on the border between Congo and Rwanda. It's a city of almost 2 million people. It has an international airport. I checked the flights in and out of Goma. It only serves other nations in Africa. But still, if you connect to another airport inside Africa that also has international flights to the rest of the world, Asia, Europe, North America, South America, all it takes is one person who's not yet symptomatic, because there's a 21-day incubation period. And Ebola can suddenly turn up right here as it did back in 2014. The current death toll from this outbreak in Congo, which is the worst in that nation's history, now 1,600. The mortality rate is about 2/3 in Ebola. They've also got a major outbreak of measles in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that's why I'm surprised the major media hasn't made a bigger deal of the hundreds of Congolese migrants who have turned up inside the United States. They showed up, crossed the southern border, begging for asylum, and hundreds of them were shipped off to San Antonio, San Francisco, and Portland, Maine. This is not internet conspiracy theory. This is reported by major media outlets in places like San Antonio and Portland. In fact, the Civic Center in Portland, as I understood it, Portland, Maine, that is, basically filled to capacity. Hundreds of migrants coming from places like Congo and Angola showing up at our southern border. Now, how does that happen? Because there's some logistics involved in getting, looking at a globe, there are some logistics involved in getting from Congo to, Del Rio, Texas. It takes some doing. It takes some time. In fact, according to reports, it's taken them about 6 months. And city officials in San Antonio a few weeks ago said, we had no idea that these people were coming. Customs and Border Protection didn't warn us. What, nobody knew that these people were coming for 6 months? They've been traveling? And a couple of weeks ago, there were eyewitness reports coming from the Darien Gap, which is between Colombia and Panama, that suggested as many as 35,000 migrants may be on the move, heading northward, and most of them coming from Africa and the Middle East. I'm sorry, but if that doesn't qualify for a crisis, I really don't know what does. But you would have thought, if not the Ebola outbreak in Congo, that perhaps the measles outbreak in Congo, which has claimed almost as many lives as the Ebola outbreaks, just that the mortality rate of measles is very, very low, like about 1%. I mean, it's tragic that any child should die from a disease. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that the mortality rate from measles is very low, and yet here in the United States, it seems that those who are pushing for universal vaccination with no exemptions for religious beliefs are using measles as the reason to force people to vaccinate their children whether they want to or not. Which makes no sense to me. If a child's been vaccinated, what does it matter if the neighbor kid's been vaccinated or not? They're trying to push the idea of herd immunity. We need to get everybody vaccinated because if not everybody gets vaccinated, then it's like nobody's been vaccinated. What? Anyway, moving on. Problems in Los Angeles. Boy, if already it wasn't clear that California is not a place you want to be anymore, especially around Los Angeles. Check out these stories. The FBI is investigating a secret society of tattooed deputies in East LA and similar gang-like groups of deputies inside the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. This probe comes after allegations of beatings and harassment by members of a group calling itself the Banditos. The Banditos, they're a group of deputies assigned to the Sheriff Department's station in East Los Angeles. They brand themselves with matching tattoos of a skeleton outfitted with a sombrero, bandolier, and pistol. And stinking badges, too. Anyway, this group is accused by other deputies in the LA County Sheriff's Department, of using gang tactics to recruit young Latino deputies and retaliating against those who decline their invitation. But that's not all. There are other groups being investigated by the FBI called the Spartans, the Regulators, and the Reapers. Sheriff's deputies allegedly working out of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Amazing. How many deputies do you think there are in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department? It's like 10,000. I'm double checking here. Yes, 10,000 deputies and police. That police is a large area of Los Angeles County, which is huge. So the FBI trying to put a stop to that. And while that's going on in the Los Angeles area, MS-13 is apparently active, carrying out what federal law enforcement officials are calling medieval killings. According to a report last week, MS-13 gang members in Los Angeles hacked to death 7 people over the last 2 years, including a rival gang member who was dismembered and had his heart cut out of his chest by 6 MS-13 soldiers in the Angeles National Forest. Why? Because the rival gang member defaced the gang's graffiti. Not a place where you want to be. 22 people affiliated with the group out of San Fernando Valley, indicted by a grand jury on racketeering charges, accused of nearly 200 criminal acts. Come out of her, my people. Well, this election has got a lot. The presidential election for 2020 has more than a year to go next November. And it's already become contentious enough that you might find yourself benefiting from taking some time away from social media. As it is anymore, I don't go to social. I go to Facebook because people are there on Facebook. And obviously, with what we do, we need to let people know about it. Otherwise, we're just kind of shouting into a vacuum. And of course, in space, nobody can hear you pontificate. But there is so much going on right now that is just pure vitriol in this presidential election. And we still have, like I said, about 15 months to go. What's bizarre is that some of the name calling is going back and forth between members of the same party. I mean, Donald Trump has been putting up with this from other Republicans now for the past, 3 years. But now Democrats are turning on each other. We saw this last weekend when Donald Trump weighed in on the infighting taking place between the squad, which is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her friends, Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, and who's the one I'm forgetting now? Oh, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders were less than pleased with the squad because the four of them voted against the emergency funding for the crisis at the southern border. Because the squad said there's not enough protections in this bill to keep Donald Trump from using it in ways we don't like. Now, Pelosi wanted the bill because of some other backroom deals that have been cut, apparently. And in an interview with the New York Times, Pelosi said, well, they've got their whatever and their Twitter feeds, and they've got 4 votes, and that's all they got. Now, these 4 young ladies that Pelosi was dissing are actually pretty savvy about using social media. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has essentially become the Speaker of the House. I mean, I know she doesn't pull strings behind the scenes, but in the minds of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, Ocasio-Cortez is more visible than Pelosi. And at the ballot box, might wield more influence than Pelosi. I mean, she took out the number 4 man on the Democratic side of the House, Joe Crowley, I guess, pretty handily. Shocked everybody. Well, Donald Trump weighed in last weekend, via Twitter, as he usually does, which forced Nancy Pelosi to defend the squad. And I thought at the time, well, that was kind of dumb on the president's part, kind of a rare misstep for him, until somebody pointed out that what he had done was forced Pelosi to align herself with the 4 women in Congress that internal Democratic Party polls are showing are growing increasingly unpopular with voters in swing states. Trump pushed Pelosi to align herself with the 4 most unpopular people in the Democratic Party with unaligned voters. The swing states, working class voters that Democrats will need to win back in order to win the White House in 2020. Actually, a pretty smart move now that you think about it. But interestingly, instead of continuing to show their a unified front, the squad went on CBS this morning, Wednesday, with Gayle King, and immediately went back after Nancy Pelosi. Representative Rashida Tlaib, who basically talked over the other 3 members of the squad, at one point kind of arguing with Gayle King about whether or not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez needed protection, who was sitting there kind of uncomfortable, like, it's really awkward when mom and dad fight and I'm here in the room, Anyway, Tlaib showing herself to be kind of shrill and, well, pushy, to be quite honest. But again, attacking Nancy Pelosi and saying, you just need to be aware that when you go after women of color, that's who we are. And they're, okay, all right. The one thing I wonder about, and this is obviously something I cannot speak to as an Anglo, basically Anglo, some Swedish, some Welsh, whatever, but basically as a white man of European descent, I have to wonder if Ayanna Pressley and other African Americans respond well to being to people of other ethnicities, like Rashida Tlaib, who's Arab, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Latina, basically grouping themselves in with African Americans, calling us all people of color, or calling themselves all people of color. Because the experience of the descendants of Africans brought to America against their will is, I would argue, considerably different from Arabs who immigrated to the United States or Latinos who emigrated to the United States. I'm just wondering if this is a tactic that's not going to play well inside the Democratic Party, if that might yield some other fractures inside the Democratic Party. But like I said, we got 15 months to go, and it's really getting lively. Get your popcorn, because there's a long way to go before this is resolved, well, at least temporarily resolved, because the 2024 election will begin about 5 minutes after the votes are certified next November. You might be surprised to learn that the United States' largest teachers union is prioritizing white fragility over educating our children. Or maybe you won't be surprised. The National Education Association, which represents school teachers here in the U.S., the largest labor union in the United States, by the way, held its annual meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and they took a couple of votes where people could make proposals, delegates could make proposals from the floor, resolutions to kind of clarify where the NEA stands on certain issues. And one of the resolutions, which you'd think would be a no-brainer, a resolution to make student learning the priority of the association, that was put up for a vote, and the vote failed. Student learning, not apparently the priority of the National Education Association. I mean, the association is for education, so you'd think that teaching would be kind of high on their list of priorities. But instead, they set that aside. They did, however, vote to teach white fragility, which they say is produced by a white supremacist culture. They also endorsed abortion, reparations for the descendants of slaves, and recognized the United States as a destabilizing force in South America, which has led to the current immigration crisis. Now, whether those resolutions are actually factually true or not, or whether those positions have merit or not, is kind of beside the point. The point is the National Education Association should be an association for educating and not politicking. But not so much. But perhaps that the emphasis by the NEA is why we're seeing such strange things happening in American culture here in 2019, when gender is whatever you choose it to be at the moment, and that's reflected in our media and in our entertainment. We're seeing it now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as Thor is set to become a girl. Yes, it's true. Natalie Portman, who's been playing the scientist and love interest for the God of Thunder, is actually going to become Thor, a female Thor, in November of 2021. Now, there have been a lot of changes already in the Marvel Comics universe, and I won't even go into that. I kind of left that behind years ago. But it's kind of depressing when I go back and look and see what's been done to some of my childhood heroes. Now, as a viewer of entertainment from Hollywood occasionally, and I recognize that as a Christian, that's kind of a dangerous thing to be. We know that they're trying to propagandize us. In fact, that's a big reason why Sharon and I watch a lot of the things that we do, to see what kind of messaging is being put out by Hollywood. And I'll confess that we have enjoyed the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They do a good job of telling stories, of writing scripts that connect with us as viewers, and actors. There are some that have really become our favorites. In fact, Chris Hemsworth as Thor is one of our favorites. But it speaks to the direction that our culture is going, that we can just flip Thor, who's got, 50 years of history in the Marvel Universe as a comic book hero and now as a movie hero, and they're going to make her a goddess, I suppose. I mean, you wonder how the ancient Vikings would feel about this, but I think the social justice warriors who are cheering this move need to think about this, because this is becoming a trend. I mean, Captain Marvel is now a woman. Thor is becoming a woman. Iron Man will become a woman. And what it says to me is that the writers and producers of these films can't actually create really good characters for females, that the only way they can present a strong female character is by taking a well-established, strong male character and then casting an actress in that role. So, now, having said all that, let me say this. As a Christian, and as somebody who spent the last 4 years basically with my head deep into researching the religions, especially of the ancient Near East, I recognize that Thor is just the Scandinavian incarnation of the storm god. Jupiter, Zeus, Baal, or Baal for you scholars, who Jesus pretty well identified in the New Testament as Satan. And that's part of the messaging, that Chris Hemsworth, as an engaging, funny, entertaining, likable character, kind of reduces this historic character in the spirit realm, who's going to lead the army that comes against Israel at Armageddon alongside the Antichrist, Gog of Magog. And we've turned him into a comic book hero and a movie star. But again, that's why Sharon and I watch these films, just to see the messaging and the propaganda. We're this weekend celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. And yes, I'm willing to entertain the question, how did our astronauts actually make it through the Van Allen belt? But setting that aside, the Apollo 11 moon landing, and that date, July 20th, 1969, is an iconic moment in world history. I mean, it really is. It's an iconic moment in world history. And yet, in 21st century America, when progressives are looking back at documentary films that celebrate this event, for example, the Washington Post tweeted out a link to its story on the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11. Quote, "The culture that put men on the moon was intense, fun, family unfriendly, and mostly white and male." End quote. That was their takeaway. Mostly white and male. And in case you missed the reference there, when you go to the actual article that the tweet links to, quote, "In archival Apollo 11 photos and footage, it's a Where's Waldo exercise to spot a woman or person of color." End quote. Well, yeah, there's no question. 1960s America was a very different place from 2019 America in a lot of different ways. Ethnic composition for one, the dual two-parent households where both parents are working is sort of the norm anymore, assuming you've got two parents in the household, unlike back in 1969 where you usually had one breadwinner. And there weren't many women or people of color studying science, technology, engineering, or math, the STEM disciplines. In fact, that's still true in 2019 America, although colleges are actively working to change that by trying to draw more women and people of color into STEM. But in 1969, that just wasn't the case. So instead of focusing on this incredible achievement, this iconic moment in American history and how it has changed us since then over the last 50 years, they're focusing on there aren't enough faces of color and women in the pictures. The left-wing magazine New Statesman, in its review of the documentary film Apollo 11, "We chose to go to the moon, or at least some did. Watching Apollo 11, it's impossible not to observe that nearly every face you see is white and male." End quote. And The Guardian, which is a left-wing newspaper from the UK, reviewing the documentary Armstrong about the first man on the moon, quote, "It's good old boys from NASA. Elderly white men, every one of them, who you suspect are still pining for the days of American life when men were men and women waited by the phone in headscarves." End quote. And evidence for that is ... crickets, crickets, crickets. This is the takeaway of progressives in America. They are seeing every aspect of our history through that particular lens. Frankly, it's getting tiresome. It is getting tiresome. I know this is a politically incorrect thing to say, but it is a documented historic fact. Setting aside the reasons for it, the historic fact is that for the first couple centuries of America's history, it was pretty well dominated by white men. Shock, horror. But progressives are trying to erase that from us and, in so doing, change history. You know, it may shock you to know Alexander Hamilton was a white man. How dare Wernher von Braun not be born a person of color? It's really silly, and it's really getting tiresome. A couple final notes here. We're going to touch on at least some aspects of the spirit realm. The chaplain in Congress, the congressional chaplain, Reverend Patrick J. Conroy, who's the 116th House chaplain, opened the session of Congress Thursday, which, given that this was a week, as I mentioned, a very contentious week, Congress voted to condemn President Trump's tweets, calling him a racist, and then turning around and voting against impeaching him. It has been a pretty divisive week in Washington, D.C. So Reverend Conroy, the House chaplain, opened the session with this prayer, quote, "This has been a difficult and contentious week in which darker spirits seem to have been at play in the people's house. In your most holy name, I now cast out all spirits of darkness from this chamber, spirits not from you. I cast out the spirit of discouragement, which deadens the hope of those who are of goodwill. I cast out the spirit of petty divisiveness, which clouds the sense and desires to be of fruitful productivity in addressing the issues more appropriately before this House. I cast out any sadness brought on by the frustration of dealing with matters detrimental to the honorable work each member has been called to engage in. Pour out, O Lord, your sacred oil as you did upon Aaron of old. Anoint your servants here in this house with a healing balm to comfort and renew the souls of all in this assembly." Pretty remarkable. Essentially, opening the session of the House of Representatives with an exorcistic prayer. Spiritual warfare in Congress. Exorcising demons from Congress. Why did they wait until 2019? One other note, and this is interesting too, in South America, a Catholic bishop there has had a unique approach to trying to rid his town of, well, crime and violence, drug use. And actually what started this was a tragic story. A 10-year-old girl was murdered. This is in the port city of Buenaventura, Colombia, which is shocking and will galvanize a community to action sometimes where things may have been left undone. Anyway, a 10-year-old girl murdered in this city in Colombia, at Port City. And so Monsignor Ruben Dario Jaramillo Montoya decided to perform a mass exorcism over the city. But in order to do this, he thought it was appropriate to, instead of, again, trying to exorcise an entire city, I guess in a Catholic rite, it involves having to douse the city with holy water. And so he went to the military, and Colombia's army offered the bishop a helicopter. One of those like firefighting helicopters with a big bucket of water that you would take over a forest fire. I mean, there's no question this particular city has a lot of problems. Drug use, violence. Human Rights Watch in 2014 named it the country's most violent place. And Colombia is a country that's seen some violence. But I'm not sure about holy water in a helicopter dousing the city. I mean, give the Monsignor credit for at least recognizing that there is a problem there. Certainly, official Roman Catholic doctrine has some issues. but at least it recognizes the work of the principalities and powers and rulers of this cosmic rulers over this present darkness, which besiege the world in which we live. Give him credit for trying something, anyway. Most American Christians don't acknowledge the existence of the dark side. Satan is just a concept. He's a symbol for the evil that's in our hearts. That's not what Jesus said. Well, coming up, the only man in America who produces more digital content than me. Straight ahead on A View from the Bunker.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself for the most unique special offer in SkyWatchTV history. We proudly announce the Vault Declassified Special Collection. For your $35 donation during this very limited time offer, you'll receive the new book by Pentagon analyst Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, Progressive Evil: How Radicals Are Redefining America's Rights, Making Her Globally Irrelevant for the End Times. Derek P. Gilbert's astonishing new book, Bad Moon Rising: Islam, Armageddon, and the Most Diabolical Double Cross in History. And the groundbreaking new book from Carl Gallup's Gods of the Final Kingdom, unveiling the secrets of the raging celestial war. And now, in a SkyWatch TV first, directly from Tom Horn's personal private vault, you'll receive completely free of charge the never-before-released Tom Horn Secret Files USB flash drive. This drive is not available anywhere else and comes completely loaded with hundreds of files, including the world-exclusive, behind-the-scenes, off-the-record video interview regarding perhaps the biggest scandal and cover-up in U.S. history. So hot, we're unable to discuss the specific contents on network television. This 2-hour investigative interview has not been released anywhere else and provides new forensic information connected to the Robert Mueller report that may soon send shockwaves through Washington, D.C. and around the world. The Tom Horn Secret Files USB flash drive also includes the Defender Films full-length, 2-time Telly Award-winning documentary movie Inhuman, the much-sought-after Defender Red Letter Edition Bible with expanded Apocrypha on Kindle and digital files, Eastward Bible software, brand new video presentations from the Watchman Conference, a massive data library of ebooks with tens of thousands of pages and hours of bonus interviews on video with leading prophecy experts. The Tom Horn Secret Files USB flash drive is valued at over $500. Yours now absolutely free when you order the Vault Declassified Special Collection from SkyWatch TV. But we're still not done. SkyWatch TV's Off the Record series is back by popular demand with the Gods of War edition on DVD, featuring exclusive interviews with Pastor Carl Gallups, senior Pentagon analyst Robert McGinnis, and Derek and Sharon Gilbert on the coming hyper battle between the forces of God and the titans of biblical prophecy. This unprecedented collection, sold separately, holds a retail value of over $600. Yours now for only $35 plus shipping and handling. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime SkyWatch TV exclusive offer that's too hot for network television. The Vault Declassified Special Collection. Available now at SkyWatchTVStore.com. Order online or call 1-844-750-4985.
Driving the internet to think. This is A View from the Bunker. I'm Derek Gilbert. Can one of the world's greatest guitarists use a music festival to reach the pagans on a modern-day Mars Hill? We'll talk to Pastor Caspar McCloud about that after 8:30 tonight. Now, however, as I said, the only man in America who creates more digital content than me. He's an author of Unraveling the Multiverse, co-author of Second Coming of the New Age and The Day the Earth Stands Still, which I was honored to be his co-author with. But he's also the host of Into the Multiverse and co-host of Chalk Talk on SkyWatch TV. And on his own, he does the Peck Report, the Peck Underground Church, and He is the mansplaining millennial. It is our honor to welcome Josh Peck back into the bunker. Josh, can you hear me?
I sure can, Derek. Thank you so much for having me back on. It is great to be with you again. How are you doing?
I am swell. It is a kind of a toasty day here on the ridge, but I guess we've got a storm coming through tonight, which ought to make things interesting. So we're going to pray that we get through this broadcast tonight. We've got thunderstorms on the way, we're told. You are even busier. You make me feel like a slacker. I mean, I know there are people who say, well, Derek, you put out a lot of content. Well, okay, we get SkyWatchTV, that's half an hour, and then 5 and 10, it's another hour, and then we do Sci Friday. Now we're adding Unraveling Revelations, that's another half hour. And then at home on the weekend, we do, this is 2 hours, and then we do another hour of Bible study on Sunday morning. So, yeah, there's a lot of, but you've got even more, and you've got 4 kids at home.
Well, I'll tell you what, Derek, before I made you feel like a slacker, you made me feel like a slacker. So way back before Skywatch, before anybody knew who I was, you were creating all this digital content, and I consumed it. I loved it. That's kind of what I cut my teeth on. View from the Bunker, your interviews at the Branson 2012 conference. That was like big time for me. That was my first introduction into all of this. And I looked at people like you and I thought, you know what, I want to do that someday. I want to be as efficient and I want to do that kind of stuff for the church. So you've been a big inspiration to me, and if I'm making you feel like a slacker now, I take that as a very high honor. I appreciate that.
You can find Josh's content online at dailyrenegade.com. I noticed that JoshPeckDisclosure.com is now pointing over to Daily Renegade.
Yes.
So let's talk about that, because I think what you're doing is taking things even farther than what Sharon and I, we figured out how to make a podcast back in 2005. We launched PID Radio, Peering into Darkness, and we began writing, and still haven't only but dipped our toes in the water of video, and most of the video we produce is through SkyWatchTV. Could do more here at home, don't have time, trying to write. But you are taking and launching not just your own video content, but now you are hosting others on this new Daily Renegade platform. What is that about?
Oh, man. And it's quite a story. And I'll say, it's kind of a cliched thing to say, but, I feel like I am standing on the shoulders of giants, and I'm not calling you and Sharon Nephilim, at least not publicly, but no, I mean, a lot of the things that you guys have already been doing even before I got involved in any kind of ministry work, that really kind of set the stage for what we're doing now. And it led to a lot of what we're doing now. So the funny thing is, Daily Renegade would not even be a thing right now if YouTube played fair. So I probably just said something that threw a lot of people off. There's a lot of backstory here, and I'll get into it. But it's funny to me how Daily Renegade was created, because I never intended to do this. I love it now, and I'm actually glad that it happened. I'm glad to see God really does work all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. So he can take something like adversity and persecution and things and turn something really cool out of that. The way it started, I've been doing my own videos and things since actually right around the time you and I met. You were one of the first major prominent figures in the what would you call it? I guess fringe Christianity movement, but yeah. the Christians who want to talk about things that most Christians don't want to talk about, and I found myself in that crowd after, I devoted my life to Christ and everything. And you were once I decided I want to write, and I put my first book out, which now it's called Disclosure. It now is, I think, in its 7th draft or something like that. Like the first version of the first draft, if anybody has that, it's not that good, because it was my first attempt at writing. It went through like several revisions and everything. But when I first released that book, you were one of the few people that gave me a shot. You had me on View from the Bunker. and we got to talk about that book, and you brought out some really good points, and I hope I did as well. And, we had a really good conversation about it, and that's what really solidified with me. You know what? I want to do this. I really want to do this. Fast forward a couple of years. Christina, my wife, and I, we just worked really hard on doing whatever we could in ministry on our own. Thanks to Dr. Michael Lake, he gave by this time I had a couple other books out, self-published and much better written. But Michael Lake gave my books to Tom Horn and said, "Hey, you should check this kid out. I just did a show with him, and I think you would like him." And this was right around the time when Tom had decided that he was going to do this new thing called SkyWatchTV, which was just groundbreaking, at the time. I mean, now SkyWatch has become like a staple in the people who want to know more about the Bible than what church is generally telling them. But back then it was brand new. So Tom took a big chance on me and offered to shoot a show with me. And so we drove out, Christina and I, to the SkyWatch studio. We shot a show, and then I did a couple of web exclusives with you. And this was the first time you and I had the chance to meet face to face, but it was we had already known each other for a couple of years by this point. But it all worked out. Tom really liked it. We really liked it. It was one of the first SkyWatch TV programs to ever make network air, and so I'm honored with that. I think it was one of the first 5 or something like that. Yeah. So all of that to say, I know people are thinking, like, why are you getting into all this background? What does this have to do with Daily Renegade? The only reason Daily Renegade exists, and the reason that I even had the stamina to do that, is because I found myself being really inspired by people like Derek Gilbert, people like Tom Horn, people like Joe Horn, Sharon Gilbert, all the people at SkyWatch who really put their all into something, not really knowing how it's going to pan out, but they trust in the Lord. And when they do that and they trust that calling from the Lord, it works out, and it does amazing. So fast forward many years. Fast forward to just a few months ago. My son Nathan was diagnosed with cancer. He's in remission now. He does have to go through a couple more years of treatment, which and I'll just throw it out now to get it out of the way. If people do want to help financially support that cause, they can go to dailyrenegade.com/donate. And there is a GoFundMe for Nathan. He is in remission now, but that doesn't mean that we're totally out of the woods financially. We have a couple more years of treatments and hospital visits, and but that really changed our lives.
Yeah.
During that time, we had to move to Memphis. We live in Missouri, but we had to move to Memphis, Tennessee, basically with an hour's notice, I think. So we didn't have time. We had time to make one trip back home to grab some clothes and go back. We had to move to Memphis to St. Jude's for his treatment. So during that time, I was still doing my YouTube videos for my channel. At that time, it was Josh Peck Disclosure. It was youtube.com/Josh Peck Disclosure. I had my own personal website, which was joshpeckdisclosure.com. And that was, so I did an interview with someone named Rachel Stevens, and people are familiar with her. She's on YouTube. Like she's got, I think her and I have probably about a similar sized audience and everything. But at that time there was this big story going around about how this witch was claiming to be a Christian, and she was a Christian witch, and she had this whole movement. So her and I, we did an interview on it because she had some background research and stuff in on that. And I did too, with the Second Coming of the New Age and all the stuff I've been involved in. And it was a good interview. We didn't hate on this person at all. We actually prayed for her during the interview. It was one of the best Peck Underground churches, which is my weekly interview show for Daily Renegade. But at the time, I was just doing it on my own. It was one of the best that we've ever done. But YouTube deleted it, and this had never happened to me before. I never even thought to back up all my videos because I never had a video deleted before. And, if you're going to back up videos, you got to buy a thing, and it's a costly endeavor. That's what I keep saying about Daily Renegade. So they deleted it. And Pastor Mike Winger, who at the time I wasn't familiar with, but now I've become familiar with him. He does excellent work. People should check him out online if they don't know him already. Mike Winger. But he reached out to me, and he had somehow heard. I guess some of my subscribers reached out to him, but they deleted the video and they told us we couldn't I could not live stream anymore, so I could not go live on YouTube and tell people updates about Nathan and all this stuff. Somebody must have reached out to Pastor Winger. He reached out to me and said, this just happened to me. And what I did was I asked my audience to send YouTube feedback and to ask YouTube to reconsider their decision, be polite about it, be nice about it. But, if you get enough people to do that, then usually they'll back down. This was the good old days of 4 months ago when YouTube would actually back down on a decision like that. So I did that. I did a video because I only couldn't live stream. I could still record a video and upload it, but I couldn't live stream. So I did a video, told everybody what the deal was, and asked them to send YouTube feedback, and they did. My audience was right there for us, and it was amazing. And YouTube did back down, which was great. They did not unrelease the video, so they still had the video. They still deleted the video. I still don't have access to that, which is unfortunate because it was a really good interview. But they did at least give us back our live streaming ability. So we were able to live stream again, and I was like, oh, thank God that is over. That was kind of my thought. Then it happened again, and it didn't take long. It was very shortly after that it happened a second time, and they took off our live streaming. And, at this time I had, speaking of Michael Lake, I had an interview scheduled with him. I had an interview scheduled with Mike Heiser and Shelley Neeson, Jim Barfield.
Oh, wow.
Different, but they were saying that we wouldn't be able to live stream for 3 months. So I had all of these interviews lined up. And now I had to go and tell everybody, we got to do it through Skype, or we got to pre-record it or something, because YouTube is doing some funny business here and not letting us. And the thing is, too, I reached out to YouTube on multiple occasions, and I tried to ask them, what did we do that violated your guidelines? Because it was a community guidelines strike. That's what they call it. And when I clicked on the thing, it gives you a link to click on to see what you did wrong. It was like if you give instructions on how to make bombs, we reserve the right to delete. It was weird stuff that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. We're not doing a Christian ministry show on how you can make bombs at home too, kids. It was ridiculous. It had nothing to do with any of our videos. We never got a straight answer. And, so I messaged Mike Winger again, and I said, hey, has it happened to you a second time? Because you helped me the first time. Do you have any advice for the second time? And he's like, it's. I don't think anybody really has an answer to how to deal with this. We're all dealing with it. And Derek, at Skywatch, we're constantly getting demonetized. We're constantly getting shadow banned, and it's ridiculous. So the second time it happened, that's why I was like, all right. We have to do at least something to back up our videos, and it can't be I buy just a really big hard drive and I'm backing up every single video, because if that's the case, then fine, I have them, but how does that benefit anybody else? Where do they go? And then people are saying, well, go to BitChute or go to, all these other platforms. And that's all fine. And actually, we are on a lot of those now. And that's all fine and great. But it takes a long time to build an audience from scratch on a new platform.
You have to retrain. Years. You have to retrain people. YouTube basically developed what they call the killer app that people have now figured it out. And what surprises me is that it's so comfortable to many people that we get hundreds of and I'll put views in air quotes here because I don't put any video with these audio presentations. But Sharon and I, through Spreaker, which we use to do the audio streaming and stream live, we have Spreaker automatically post the completed audio to YouTube. And they just put a generic background behind it. Whatever your background is for your channel on Spreaker, that's what goes up on the video. And yet there are hundreds of views in quotes, of these non-video videos on YouTube just because people are familiar with the platform. So you're fighting habit. Now that people learn how to use YouTube, it sometimes surprises them when you say, well, we're on Vimeo. What's Vimeo? What's BitChute? YouTube is not the only one that does this. There are other places out there.
They're just the biggest and most familiar, and that's what people are familiar with. And it does. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's really difficult to retrain somebody to use a whole new platform that they're not familiar with. And even if they are familiar with those alternative platforms, it takes a long time to build an audience on any of them because we have these juggernauts like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter that rule them all, So,
right.
Whereas on these other social media platforms, if they played fair, you could have millions of subscribers and millions of people that are familiar with your stuff, but they don't play fair. But these other social media platforms, and they're great. I like the alternate stuff now, but they just don't have as many users as some of the bigger guys.
Right.
So, this was providence. Like, this was a miracle. I had right around that same time, I had reconnected with somebody I went to high school with. His name is Alex, and Alex Patchen. I can say his full name because I did an interview with him for my channel. So people caught that, then they're familiar with him. But I went to high school with him. We were friends. We were friendly, at least I should say. We weren't best friends. We didn't hang out outside of school ever. We had one biology assignment together where we had to dissect a fetal pig. But we were friends. He was kind of more on the jock side. I was kind of more on the geek nerd side. But we were friends. And I hadn't thought about him, or I hadn't he had not crossed my mind until just before this happened. And we became friends on Facebook, and I was like, oh, yeah, we went to high school. How you doing, man? Turns out he is this big web developer. It was actually funny the way that I found out about him. By the way, I do got to give a plug for his company, Triface Media. If you want some good SEO, or you just want some good website stuff, whatever you're dealing with, Triface Media, TRIFACE Media. Check them out. They are great. They are what made Daily Renegade possible. But So the way that I found out and remembered him, Greta Van Susteren had just left Fox News, and she was starting her own thing. And I saw a comment from him. He was offering his services to her online, and it was a public comment. And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, Alex, I remember that guy. We went to high school together." So we got to talking after that. But turns out he's this big time web developer. He just knows everything. He's like a genius with this stuff. And so it was providential, because at the same time, YouTube was suppressing us, Alex was also messaging me and saying, "Man, I'm sorry this is really, this is happening to you. That's terrible." And he was saying, I wish YouTube wouldn't suppress conservative voices like yours, and that's awful. And so I asked him, "Can your company build something else? Can we even if it's just for me?" And at this time, I didn't bring on any new shows. Even if it was just for me, can you build a website where I just have Josh Peck stuff? And we host everything on the website, so if it gets deleted on YouTube, people can go to the website and find it there. And then he said, "Yeah, we can totally do that. That's actually that's a big part of what we do. It's not that difficult at all." And I was like, "Okay, well, here's what I want to do. I know that's going to cost money because web hosting, especially if you're going to be storing a bunch of data, costs money." So I said, "Is there a way that we can set up a membership similar to Netflix? Can we do something where people can get stuff kind of for free, like on YouTube and stuff, but it's limited? And then because I don't want to put a full interview on YouTube and just for them to delete it again. So is there a way that we can give them a preview of the interview, or maybe half of the interview?" I was kind of inspired by what the Daily Wire does. They have a really cool platform, and I was like, can we do a model similar to that where we have some of the stuff go up on YouTube, but if somebody wants the full everything that we do, they can buy a membership, and then the funds that come in through that, will help support other ministries and stuff, but it also helps us be able to pay for the data storage and everything involved. He's like, "Oh yeah, we can do that." So this was all while Nathan was going through his cancer treatment, and where honestly we didn't know if he was going to live or die. I probably would have been more patient with YouTube if it didn't come at that time. But because it came at that time, I thought I don't have any time to waste on this because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So we need to do this now. I can't waste time messing around with YouTube. We got to build something now where I don't have to worry about it. And the ultimate goal was always to just get off of YouTube completely. So they built the website, and there's a lot of in-between stuff I'm leaving out just for sake of time because I know we're limited on time. But what it ended, and I know, did you say something about we're going to cut to break in like 5 minutes or something like that? Something about right?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't want to get off on the brand new. So probably when we come back from break, I'll tell you where we're at now. But but just to kind of complete that thought, if YouTube just played fair, if they just told us what they to make the decision if we wanted to be a part of it, there would be no Daily Renegade. And right now, Daily Renegade's only a few months old. It's not old. It's not very old at all. But it is a serious contender to anything else out there that anybody's going to find. We are doing things that no one else has done before. We are right now in our infancy. We are the Netflix of fringe Christianity. I mean, it's amazing what God has done with this thing. And it absolutely blows my mind. There's a lot more that I want to say about things that are happening now and what the future holds. But I don't want to run into that break. So where are we at with that?
I'll tell you what, why don't we do the break a couple of minutes early? It's just a quick one, just to get a cup of, glass of water or what have you. And we'll talk about that. I think you hit a good way of pitching it to people, to give them a sense of what, of how, explaining it. Instead of trying to explain, well, it's like YouTube, but it's not YouTube. And it's like, well, why didn't I just go to YouTube? Why don't you, the Netflix of Christian broadcasting. That's a really good way of putting it. And we will talk about what kind of programming you can find there and, who's on it, how you get to it, how do you get a Daily Renegade of your very own? Our conversation with Josh Peck continues. This is A View from the Bunker.
Ripper's dark deeds actually began long before 1888. And it wasn't a mere man who committed the crimes, but a demon in league with devilish men, a group of men called Red Wing. Only one small group of valiant men and women stand against this evil, a group that place their faith in Christ alone. And they protect a secret of blood that Red Wing hopes to use to usher in the reign of Antichrist and the end of day.
Red Wing is called Red Wing because they want to kill the church. They want to forever stop Christ from coming back. So it's the Holy Spirit, the dove, with a murdered, has been slain, a wounded dove. Ultimately, we still have to remember that the one who is in control is God Almighty, and we have to go to Him, and we have to suit up every time we go out.
The Red Wing Saga by Sharon Gilbert.
Book 1.
Blood Lies.
Book 2.
Blood Rights.
Book 3.
The Blood is the Life.
Book 4.
Realms of Stone.
And now available Book 5.
Realms of Fire. Available at SkyWatchTVstore.com. Paperback and Kindle at Amazon.com. Characters you'll love and a story you can't put down. The Red Wing Saga by Sharon Gilbert. Coming to you from the heart of the Missouri Ozarks every Sunday night. This is A View from the Bunker. I'm Derek Gilbert. The Netflix of Christian broadcasting. It's interesting. That's a brilliant way of putting it. Our guest tonight is the man behind the new Daily Renegade, which is a platform that offers voice to, what might be the voiceless if the folks at Alphabet Corp have their way. And, of course, that's the parent company of Google, which in turn owns YouTube. Josh Peck. Josh, the dailyrenegade.com, you go there, it's a well-designed site, so kudos to your friend for putting this together. It's really easy to navigate, and it looks like you got a lot of different content available on this site. Who is broadcasting through it, and how do people access the content?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, this is totally a God thing because, like I said, I was just planning on doing something, for my own stuff. So, daily Peck reports and then Peck Underground Church, and that was going to be it. But the more that Christina and I thought about it and what was happening, at the same time we were getting censored on YouTube, there were other people getting censored too. So the guys from Through the Black, which is an excellent show on YouTube, but they handle very controversial Christian issues. As well, we all should. If we're, Christian, we got to be able to talk about this stuff. So Jared Cressman and Tom Dunn host a show called Through the Black. They were getting censored like crazy. End Time Productions, which is a huge channel. And you and I know the brilliant mind behind that channel.
Oh, yeah.
But he was getting suppressed really bad. And there were a few others. So I thought, well, why don't we try to create like a safe haven, like for all these people where they can create content and this will help, build the audience. They can create content for Daily Renegade under the Daily Renegade banner. We'll do all the hosting. There's no risk to the hosts. They just bring their audience. And that's kind of how it sort of became like the Netflix of fringe Christianity. So right now we have something like a dozen shows now. I mean, and providentially, some of these shows are brand new and you can only get it at Daily Renegade. So if you want to, for people who are listening, if you want to view the YouTube free versions of this stuff, most of it you'll get like half an interview or you'll get half a show. Or you'll get a graphic that comes up, and it's just because we have to protect ourselves and we have to make sure that we can keep our content secure. So if YouTube ever deletes us, which they will, and they've already taken another step, I'll have to talk about that in a second. But if they ever do that there's going to be a place for you to still find the content. So right now the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Josh Peck Disclosure DR for Daily Renegade.
Okay. They
would not let me make a new I couldn't do a new URL for it. So it's Josh Peck Disclosure DR. That is the place to go on YouTube. But I highly suggest people go and get a membership at dailyrenegade.com. It's very easy to remember. Kudos to Tom Dunn for coming up with the name because that is an awesome name. Mm-hmm. A couple of people have said, I guess during I'm not familiar with this, but I guess sometime during the Obama presidency, he referred to his fans as renegades or something like that. That's not, it has nothing to do with Obama. The reason that we came up with that name, obviously, the reason that it came up with that name is in our society, in our culture, we are renegades. We as Christians, we're basically outlaws. We're not allowed to think the things that we think. We're not allowed to. So we're fighting against that. And we're saying, you know what? Our views are very sane. They're very logical. They make sense. We can back them up with reason, logic, scripture, history. We can back them up. We don't rely on feelings. We rely on facts. That's kind of a Daily Wire thing, Ben Shapiro thing. But we can back all this up. Yet in our culture, in our society, we are renegades. That's why they keep trying to shut us down and censor us. So I invite everybody listening to come be a part of the Daily Renegade family. It's only $10 a month or $100 a year. And what you get with that is absolutely phenomenal. And I suggest if anybody's interested, get the $100 a year. You get 2 months free if you do that. 2 months for free. Plus, you only got to pay for it once and you don't have to think about it for a whole year. And we're doing so many upgrades on the site. We are building basically a miniature social media site within dailyrenegade.com that will only be available for members. You can do posts. You can have your own profile. You can you can put up links. You can put up video. It's basically like a mini Facebook, but it's in dailyrenegade.com and it's only for members. So we are working on that. That is not completed yet. Now, with that, I do want to say I cannot promise for new members that it's always going to be this cost, this cheap. I can't promise it's only going to be $10 a month or $100 a year. It could turn out because the cost of this is it's pretty expensive. for new members that could turn out later on that we might have to charge more. That will not happen with existing members. So get a membership now. Get a membership now while it's cheap and while you can, because like I said, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure we don't have to increase the price. If we do have to increase the price, it will only be for people who don't have a membership already. So you asked about the shows. Now we have Peck Underground Church and Peck Report for me, but who cares about me? We have very talented people on here. One of the first, actually the first show that we brought on that wasn't Peck related was Apolloneering by Seth McVeigh. Seth McVeigh, He's an amazing host. He's brilliant. He's an engineer. Apolloneering, the show, it's a mix of apologetics and engineering. So you look at the topic of apologetics, but through an engineering kind of like really logical and reason-based scope. Nothing like it has ever been done. It's such a good idea for an interview show. Well, that is now exclusive to Daily Renegade. You cannot find it anywhere else except Daily Renegade because we got him early. But we also have the Christian Contrarian with Gary Wayne. If people are familiar. Yeah. Great, brilliant guy. I mean, if you think you know everything about the Nephilim and the giants in Genesis 6 and I do ancient history and if you think you do, however, then you need to go and watch Christian Contrarian, because I promise you don't. Gary Wayne,
that's a fact.
He brings up he is phenomenal. He brings up so many things I never would have thought of, but it's sound. He cites his sources. He explains where he's coming from. It's not just fringe kind of out there crazy stuff. I mean, it's fringe Christianity based on the what the mainstream church would think of us. They would think of us as fringe, but it's really like, I mean, he does his homework. He does his research. So he wrote the book Genesis 6 Conspiracy. This is basically the Genesis 6 Conspiracy show. He does amazing. So he has a weekly show. We have Women Glorifying God with my wife, Christina Peck, and her friend, Sandy Ashley. They host kind of just like what it's like to be a Christian woman and what's the role, believe it or not, like Tom Horn says, believe it or not, women are a part of the human race as well, and maybe they should get to speak sometimes. So we host that. We have Through the Black Uncensored. So Through the Black, like we were talking about before, that's a show on YouTube that's constantly getting censored. So we have Through the Black Uncensored, where they talk about things that you're definitely not going to hear this in church, and you probably won't hear it on YouTube because, actually, I can guarantee you're not going to hear it on YouTube because they constantly get censored. So Through the Black Uncensored is an amazing show. We have that. We have Get Real with my brother, Cody Peck. He just launched his show called Get Real, which it's informative, but it's really funny. He's got a sense of humor.
Well, I can tell that just from the headline from the very first episode. Flat Earth doesn't matter because Bigfoot lives in Flint, Michigan.
Exactly, and that is Cody. Like, he's absolutely, he's clearly a Christian. He's into this stuff that we're all into, but he adds like an extra air of humor to it, which is really refreshing and nice. So it's not just solid, teaching and information. It's not just it's an entertaining learning experience. I mean, it's totally unique. You can't find anything like that. So he just started this show last week.
Cool.
So we have that. Peck Brother Productions, me and Cody will do these little mini documentaries sometimes. So we do that. Beginning and End by Ryan Pitterson. Ryan Pitterson, the author of the book Judgment of the Nephilim, which people have probably saw him on Prophecy Watchers and a bunch of other places. He has started a show with us, Beginning and End, which is fantastic. He just launched his first episode, which is The Return of the Antichrist, which provocative title. So it's great. And then, like you mentioned, Mansplaining Millennial, that's Josh Peck talking about politics for, 7 or 8 minutes. I try to keep it really short. I right now only have one episode of that because it got I did one episode and it was very reasoned and I believe it was well done, but it got so shadow banned by YouTube. I could turn the camera on right now and sneeze in the camera and I'm going to get at least 1,000 views on that, just based on the sheer numbers. It doesn't mean I'm anything great or anything. It's just the numbers of subscribers we have and the audience we have. This got so shadow banned by YouTube. YouTube suppressed this so much. I only got like a couple hundred views on it, which I have like 70,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So to only get 200 views, there's something fishy going on there. So I do only have one episode right now of that. I plan on making more. But we also have some live shows. So Conspiracy Theory Thursday with Seth MacVeigh and his wife Brittany. They every Thursday night they do when we're allowed to live stream, because right now we can't even upload anything on our YouTube channel.
Wow.
And I'll have to tell people about that. But when we're allowed to, every Thursday night they take, just some conspiracy theory, be it 9/11, what really happened, the moon landing, what's all that about? But they take a really good balanced approach to it. And that's what I really like about it. It's conversational. It is entertaining, because when you watch it, you feel like, you're part of the fellowship and the community. But they're not so outlandish where they take just one hard position, and if you don't believe this one position, then you're going to hell. And, they're not like that. Mm-hmm. It's conversational. It's live, so there's a live chat for people who wish to interact with the hosts and the rest of the people watching. It's really cool. So they do that. And then we have the Z Files, which is a new show by the fine folks at Bio Warrior. And, they're usually more about like, health and supplements and that kind of stuff but they've been suppressed too, like crazy on Facebook. Facebook doesn't want anything to do with them because they're trying to teach people how to heal their thyroid with very, very simple, supplements or cleanse their liver. They're natural health kind of people. Facebook doesn't like that. YouTube doesn't like that. They were getting suppressed. So, but they also have a more kind of conspiratorial show, like, what's really going on with the homosexual agenda in our culture, things that things that the church nor the world really wants to discuss, except for one way, and that's only to celebrate it. And we're not about that. So we have them on. They started a new show called the Z Files. I think it has 8 or 9 episodes now. It's fantastic. People love it. And we're adding new shows too. We have upcoming shows. I talked with Carl Tykrib. He's interested in providing some content. Yeah. I talked with several. Jim Wilhelmsen, if people are interested. Yeah, Jim got his whole YouTube channel deleted. Now, luckily, thankfully, he was wise enough to back up his videos. So, he was wiser than me. But, I got a special place in my heart for Jim, because when I was first starting out, I looked into Hollow Earth, and he was one of the first people that I came across on YouTube. And it turns out at the time I lived in Michigan, he lived only an hour away from me. So he came over for a visit, and me and Christina got to know him and meet him, and we had him over for coffee, and it was just really good, and we kept in touch ever since. And now, just all glory goes to God, but now I am in a position where I can actually help him out. And so he got his whole YouTube channel deleted, which is a shame, because he's an excellent researcher.
Yeah, and
I don't agree with.
In fact, just he and I just agreed he's going to come on this program in late August 25th, and so we'll be able to talk up his new channel when he's here on that program. But yeah, his research is one that I watched back in the early days when we were looking at the UFO phenomenon and following the Ancient of Days conferences down in Roswell, New Mexico, that Guy Malone was putting together. Jim Wilhelmsen was working down there at the time, and so yeah, a lot of what he did was really helpful to Sharon and me in kind of guiding and directing our thoughts and research toward what we're doing these days. So that's great.
He is awesome, and so he's going to be a part of it, and we have many others. I mean, it would take longer than the show has to name everything else that we're going to be doing. We're also going to be reaching out to people who may not have the time to do original shows for Daily Renegade, but we're going to be reaching out to people and other leaders in the fringe Christian kind of world that we find ourselves in, and we're going to see if some of these researchers, speakers, these content creators, if they will allow us for only our members to repost their material. So that's why I say we're the Netflix of fringe Christianity. You go to Netflix, you can find movies that you can find on Amazon, you can find on Hulu. You can, if video stores still existed, you could go rent a movie. You can find all those, but it's convenient because it's all in one place. So that's what we're trying to do. We don't only want to do original content. We do want to do that. We have a good amount of original content. Brian Melvin, who he's got an amazing testimony of him. He had a near-death experience. I interviewed him. But he didn't have a pleasant near-death experience. He had one where he saw hell. Yeah, and it's a phenomenal one. And a lot of times when I hear those, I'm skeptical of those kinds of things. I mean, I'm working on a project right now about the book is literally called Afterlife, and you interviewed me on Sci Friday about NDEs. So I mean. You got to take NDEs. You got to go into it kind of being skeptical. I believe Brian. I've spoken with him personally. I've interviewed him. I've kept in contact with him. I believe him. I believe everything that he said he saw. I believe he saw. I don't think he died and escaped judgment or anything like that. I think that he had a near experience and the Lord showed him a vision of hell so he could tell other people what it's like. But he's right now we're working with him for him to produce the show. So, but it's not only Daily Renegade originals. We want to do kind of what Netflix is doing. We want to reach, and I don't want to give any names out or anything because I haven't reached out to anybody yet. This is just the next phase. We want to reach out to some other content creators who already have stuff out there. So that way, when somebody gets a Daily Renegade membership, they get all of their favorites in one place, and they don't have to deal with YouTube. My goal is to get people off of YouTube, and myself personally, I want to get off of YouTube. Unfortunately, when YouTube first started, it was great. You could upload stuff. You could make a living just doing videos. Like you could make a solid living.
Right. I was always surprised by that. I was always surprised by that. Yeah, I know that we are actually providing. Essentially, YouTube is crowdsourced video entertainment, and I get that they want to sell that entertainment to advertisers. But I was amazed at even with what I was doing, which was very, very basic. I've done some video interviews for View from the Bunker. Again, just don't have time to do the post-production on it that I would need to do to make it look the way I want. But even for those few shows that I did, where we'd get maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 views if it was really a popular one, they were paying out a lot more money than I thought those were worth, frankly. So for a content creator like you, where you've really worked at this and been developing it, where you've got a following, where you've got your subscriber base is about I think about 7 or 8 times bigger than mine. You could really do well, and then for them to suddenly arbitrarily cut their rates, that could really be a pinch.
Well, and so that's what recently happened. So just a couple of days ago, and this happened actually, I think right after you sent me the invite to do this interview. So, I mean, the timing is like perfect. But right after I got that invite, Seth MacFarlane, he put up. Now this was a few weeks ago. He put up a video. An interview, a really, really good interview, one of the best I've ever seen. But he did an interview with somebody who used to be a homosexual, and she found Christ and she repented, and she's straight and she's like got a great life now, and she was talking about really what the bondage of homosexuality was like when she was experiencing it. By the way, there's a Through the Black episode that is with somebody who has a similar testimony, somebody who came out of the LGBT movement and who came to the saving grace of Christ. And now they're a lot happier. And so somebody reported that to YouTube because that interview was up for a while, and it was a YouTube friendly version of the interview. We actually have an editing team right now. It's my brother, but we have an editing team right now that Cody oversees, and they try to make sure as much as they can. It's impossible because YouTube is not clear on their guidelines. They try to make sure that every video that goes up on YouTube is edited in a way that doesn't trigger the YouTube algorithm, that that sneaking monster that is prowling and waiting to destroy us. That's basically what it is. And so this was even the edited version of the interview, and it was still somebody watched it, they didn't like it, and they reported it. because of that, right now where we're at, we cannot upload anything. We had no warning. I just got an email one morning just saying, hey, you can't upload anything anymore. I did a video on it, but I couldn't upload it to YouTube. So it's on Facebook and it's on the Daily Renegade website if people want to go there. DailyRenegade.com. We're also on like BitChute and like a lot of these other places. We posted a list of all our alternative platforms that we're on. We're on a bunch of them now. We posted a list at DailyRenegade.com so people can check that out. But that just happened. So for at least a week, maybe longer, but for at least a week, we cannot upload anything. We can't live stream. We basically don't have a channel. And I've been telling the Daily Renegade members, like, this is coming. It will happen. We will have our channel deleted. It's happened to Tim Alberino. It's happened to several others out there who talk about the things that we want to talk about. It will happen to us. It's just a matter of when. So all of what Daily Renegade is right now it's trying to prepare people for that. So it's trying to get as many people to sign up as possible, because as soon as YouTube deletes our channel, it's going to be a lot harder to get the word out of what Daily Renegade is. But I am now so aggressive. I mean, I lose sleep over this, but in a good way. I'm so aggressive about growing Daily Renegade to be as big as it can possibly be, because we actually have employees now. We have people that depend on Daily Renegade's success. I mean, it turned into something so much bigger than I originally intended it to be, but it's because of YouTube. They created their own competition. So we're coming after YouTube, and we are saying, look, ditch Netflix, ditch the flicks, get off of YouTube. Yes, YouTube, sure, it's free and it's convenient, but it is downright satanic. And they are shifting the culture in such an evil way. They're shifting the culture because they control all the content. They're shifting the culture into this leftist agenda that includes a lot of just satanic garbage, and it's really hard to weed through. And there are not many voices that can sustain it. Like we at Daily Renegade, we're very young. I can't afford a lawyer. Thank God there are people like, Daily Wire. They can afford a legal team. Ben Shapiro himself is a law expert. I'm friends with Michael Knowles and Andrew Klavan. I've interviewed both of them. But what's funny is their shows do really well. But when I interview them, those shows do very poorly because YouTube channel bans it because they know I can't afford a lawyer. So they'll suppress those. YouTube knows we at Daily Renegade cannot afford a lawyer. That's why they're messing with us so much. But that's why they basically leave Daily Wire alone. But this happened with Steven Crowder recently, because at Vox, Carlos Maza, for people. Yeah, for people who are familiar with the story, I mean, Steven Crowder, he's a comedian, and there might be some Christians that don't like the colorful language that he uses, but still, it really doesn't fall outside of, if you read YouTube's guidelines, he's not inciting violence. He actually actively tells people not to commit violence. He's making jokes, and he's doing what a comedian does. Comedians are supposed to push the envelope and do all that. So he makes some jokes having to do with homosexuality. Carlos Maza, who is a homosexual, I guess you could call him, journalist at Vox, he didn't like it, and he basically, in my opinion, threw a temper tantrum and kept bugging YouTube to do something about it. Steven Crowder, he has over 4 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. It's a huge YouTube channel.
Right.
He got demonetized.
Wow.
Totally demonetized.
Wow.
He cannot run ads on his, and he had to take down a lot of videos that had some of his products and some of his like T-shirts and things like that. Like YouTube really messed him up over that, because somebody couldn't take a joke and they complained about it. And so that's the kind of, we're dealing with the same oppression and censorship, only we don't have the financial resources to afford to be able to do anything legally about it. So for us, our solution is we have to build our own thing. We have to build the Netflix of fringe Christianity. We have to try to convince people to cancel their Netflix subscription, because who wants to see Sabrina the Satanic Witch who's going to teach your kids how to be demon possessed? Who wants to watch that? Instead, spend your $10 over at Daily Renegade and actually get some good information and even a little bit of humor if you like that. Get real with Cody Peck. He's funny. And we're signing on more shows like that, and we're constantly growing. So that's kind of where we're at today. But I mean, it's a big effort, and it's never been done before in this way. We're doing something brand new. So I ask people who are listening, please pray for us. Pray for God's wisdom. Pray for my own leadership, that it falls in line with God's will, because I don't know everything. I don't know how to do this. It's brand new. We're doing something that's never been done before. But so far, it has exploded. It has become so much more popular than I thought. We have so many members now. I can't believe how many people are craving this type of thing. But the more I think about it, there was a time not that long ago I was craving this kind of thing. And, it just took a little prompting from the Lord saying, okay, Josh, build it. Do it. I'll support you. And he has. So dailyrenegade.com right now, that is the place to go. Not only that, you're going to get articles. We have original articles. I should tell people, too, if they can't afford a membership, we do have this deal set in place. If you're a good writer, you have to be good. I mean, we're not going to just publish anything. But if you're a good writer, you know how to cite sources. You can, and if you feel called to write, you can write for the website. You can submit an article to me, joshpeckdisclosure@gmail.com, 2,000 words or more. It's got to be at least 2,000 words, but 2,000 words or more. Topic of your choice. Don't ask me to assign a topic. I'm not going to do it. I don't have time. Just I want to know who has their finger on the pulse of the audience of Daily Renegade, who feels so called to Daily Renegade that they actually know what to write about. Usually prophetic stuff does really good. I would love to see some more political commentary from a conservative point of view, investigative journalism, that kind of stuff I think is really interesting. I'd love to see that, but it's not a requirement. If you can write a good, compelling article, and if you can write one at least once a month, I would love to see more than that, but at least once a month, you can get a free membership to the Daily Renegade. Anybody who contributes to the website, to the ministry, Daily Renegade, will get a free membership. One last thing I'll mention, I know we're about to wrap up here, but if you choose to buy a membership, your membership doesn't only all go to us. We support 4 ministries. We give 20% of any income that Daily Renegade brings in through memberships. We give 20%. 5% goes to St. Jude's because they healed my son of cancer and Amen. They do great work. So, they get 5%. We have 5% that goes to Tom Dunn and his daughter, who lead in the pro-life effort. They go do. They're just amazing. They have an amazing ministry towards the pro-life movement and trying to get the scourge of abortion out of our country. And then they do a good job at it. They're out there in the front lines. They're protesting. They're trying to get people materials in a loving way to show them that there are other options. So we support them. And then we support 2 ministries who actually preach the gospel to Jews in Israel, in the Middle East. They are actually boots on the ground in the Middle East, in Israel.
And that's a key ministry.
The Jewish people. So hopefully, So hopefully they will. They'll get to learn who their Messiah is. So we support 2 ministries that do that. All of them get 5%. It adds up to 20%. So 20% of your membership, if you decide to purchase a membership through Daily Renegade, and I highly suggest you do, goes to those efforts. Also, very quick future plans. We're going to be developing a TV app, a phone app. We're going to make this as easy and awesome as possible for our members. So sign up today while it's still cheap, because I can't promise it's always going to stay this price. $10 a month, $100 a year for existing members. It will never increase, but for new members it might. So go to dailyrenegade.com right now, get a membership, get the annual one, because then you get 2 months for free and you don't have to think about it for another year. Isn't that nice?
It is a sweet deal, and that is right in line with the price that people are generally willing to pay for something like a Netflix or a Hulu or Amazon Prime. So, and again, this is going to, unlike those entities. And, I confess we watch this stuff, and I talked about this in the first segment tonight, that Sharon and I will watch things on Netflix, Amazon Prime, in many cases, just for research information. What kind of propaganda are they putting out there?
Exactly.
But recognizing that the subscription money that we're paying to those companies are going to produce content like Sabrina the Satanic Witch, like other programs that are pushing a certain agenda out there that we do not support. So Daily Renegade, you're actually supporting preaching the gospel in the Holy Land, fighting the sin of abortion, and healing children who are desperately ill and in need of extreme doctors, the best doctors available to deal with serious childhood diseases. So you can't go wrong with that. Now, the forthcoming book, Josh, when is that supposed to be out?
Yeah, so it's called Afterlife, and it should be out later this year. It is all about, it's about the afterlife, but it is not your normal fluffy clouds in the sky book about heaven that you get from mainstream Christianity. It is not that. It is a serious theological look at the afterlife. It's a serious scientific look into near-death experiences, and it's written in a way that anybody can understand. So if don't feel intimidated by it, you're going to understand it just fine. But we are doing things in this book that, as far as I know, no other Christian has done before. Because you think even just about NDEs, you get two options. You can go the New Age interpretation, which is rooted in Satanism, or you can go the materialistic interpretation, which says that it's all a trick of the brain, the dying brain.
Right.
I don't believe any of that. I think these are real experiences for a lot of good reasons, and we documented in the book. So people should check. Keep their eyes out for that. It is Afterlife. It will be available later this year.
All right. Josh Peck, the man behind Daily Renegade, dailyrenegade.com. Josh, hang on the line. We'll say goodbye here in just a second and see you around the office here soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back.
Coming up, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. Can such a commemorative event actually be used to preach the gospel? We'll find out. Pastor Caspar McCloud joins us next as A View from the Bunker continues. I'm Derek Gilbert.
Churches and educational establishments from universities down to elementary schools are embracing New Age philosophy and are being seduced by heavy demonic forces that are masquerading as angels of light, ascended masters, spirit guides, and even Jesus Christ himself. SkyWatchTV is proud to announce the second coming of the New Age official collection. When you order the new book, The Second Coming of the New Age by Stephen Bancars and Josh Peck, you'll receive the brand new DVD Beyond Supernatural, which includes never-before-released off-the-record interviews with the authors, detailing their long history of involvement with the New Age, and personal testimonies of their deliverance by Jesus Christ. And as a bonus, this DVD includes the entire SkyWatch TV 5-part series exposing the infiltration of the New Age. Plus, you'll also receive on DVD The Book of Enoch, Fallen Angels, and Ancient Aliens, an exclusive production with Dr. Michael Heiser regarding the blatant lies of ancient astronaut theory and the horrifying nature of fallen angels and alien abduction. Also included is the brand new audio series, Doctrines of Devils. Listen as Stephen Bancars interviews Doreen Virtue, world-renowned former best-selling author and teacher for the New Age, as she explains her incredible supernatural journey out of the occult and into the arms of Jesus. This over 12-hour series features bonus interviews with Dr. Chuck Missler, Dr. Thomas Horn, John McTernan, Gary Bates, and many more on the subjects of ghosts, demons, and the supernatural. But that's not all. You'll also receive the oversized, beautifully republished classic masterpiece in hardback, Myths and Legends of Babylonia and Assyria. This work provides not only the account of the mysteries of the ancients, but extracts and presents to the reader the occultism driving much of the New Age and heretical doctrines today. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of over $150. Yours now for your donation of only only $35 plus shipping and handling. You can have access to everything you need to arm yourself against the onslaught of pervading spiritual darkness now. The Second Coming of the New Age official collection is available now at SkyWatchTVStore.com. Order now or call 1-844-750-4985. Does God use catastrophe to mobilize His people for His glory? Is there finally definitive evidence of the actual location of Mount Sinai, the very place where God's presence was revealed in a blazing fire? New York Times best-selling author, filmmaker, and teacher Joel Richardson is back with 2 brand new works that take these subjects head-on. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Joel Richardson 2-book special offer. This special offer includes The Mystery of Catastrophe, where you'll learn to view catastrophes in an entirely new light. You'll see firsthand how God uses natural and man-made disasters to specifically position people to hear the gospel of the one and only true God and receive salvation through His Son, Jesus Christ. This must-read book will walk you step by step down the eschatological road of biblical prophecies to offer meaning and hope to individuals that are suffering. In this timely 2-book special offer, you'll also receive Mount Sinai in Arabia, the true location revealed, complete with more than 50 full-color photographs and maps. This beautiful work takes a look at the biblical evidence for Mount Sinai being in the land of Midian, Mount Sinai in ancient Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, the evidence that Paul journeyed to Mount Sinai, the discovery of Moses' altar, the golden calf, and so much more. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of $40. Yours now for your donation of only $25 plus shipping and handling. Now's your chance to get both of these incredible new books at one super low price. Order the Joel Richardson special offer online now at the SkyWatch TV store or call 844-750-4985. From the Garden of Eden to our current day, dark Luciferian entities have worked to destroy mankind, while biblical prophecy points to a soon-coming war between earthly governments and a clash of colossal proportions. Dr. Thomas Horn says you cannot understand much of the Bible unless you read and grasp the revelations in the Gods of War Super Collection. For your $35 donation during this very limited time offer, you'll receive The Alliance of Evil, the groundbreaking new book by Pentagon analyst Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, which unveils the prophetic new dual Cold War between the U.S., Russia, and China unfolding across the global spectrum now. The Gods of Ground Zero, that explains the supernatural forces operating behind current global events. And The Last Clash of the Titans, which analyzes the most overlooked prophecies in the Bible and explains how Jesus Christ himself will soon go to war against the gods of antiquity. But with this 3-volume critical collection, you'll also receive completely free of charge the brand new, never-before-released full-length DVD, War of the Gods, Volume 1, Search for the Titans. Walk one-on-one with your personal guides, Derek and Sharon Gilbert, through a tour of the Holy Land, including Shiloh, Bethel, and Mount Hermon. You will see where the final battle between God and the rebel angels will take place. And you'll explore for yourself Sardinia's megalithic tombs of the giants, their connection to the ancient Canaanites, and the final battle. And that's not all. You'll also receive for a very limited time the best of the first annual Blessed Hope Prophecy Conference on DVD. This 2-disc DVD collection is jam-packed with over 11 hours of mind-boggling revelations from presenters like Dr. Thomas R. Horn on deep state saboteurs and the secret destiny of America, Sharon Gilbert on the return of the ancients through pharmakia, necromancy, and virtual reality, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis on the inside war against President Trump by elite secret societies, and unforgettable presentations from celebrated theologian Dr. Michael Lake, Derek P. Gilbert, Josh Peck, and more. But we're still not done. SkyWatch TV's Off the Record series is back by popular demand with a brand new, never-before-aired DVD, The Gods of War Edition, featuring exclusive interviews with Detective Carl Gallups, Senior Pentagon Analyst Robert McGinnis, Derek and Sharon Gilbert on the coming hyper battle between the forces of God and the titans of biblical prophecy. This content is only available in this exclusive offer and will not be aired anywhere else. Included for a limited time with the Gods of War Super Collection. This unprecedented collection sold separately holds a retail value of $220. All 6 items yours now for your donation of only $35 plus shipping and handling. This, without a doubt, is the largest special offer of the summer and is available only while supplies last. So don't delay. The Gods of War Super Collection. Available now at SkyWatchTVStore.com. Order online or call 1-844-750-4985.
Live from the Missouri Ozarks and showing it tonight. This is A View from the Bunker. I'm Derek Gilbert. Normally, we try not to run so many promos back to back, but tonight we've been trying to work on some technical issues behind the scenes. This happened about a week ago, in fact, where in just trying to connect via Skype, we had all kinds of issues behind the scenes, and I'm hoping that we've got our guest here for the final 20-minute segment here. It was actually supposed to be about a 25-minute segment, but thanks to Skype's interesting connection issues, we're been kind of tap dancing, vamping, I guess is the musical term. Our guest, a musician, a pastor, conference speaker, who in fact just added to the list of speakers at the Unsealed Scroll Prophecy Conference, coming to San Antonio October 4th through the 6th. He's also an author of the books What Was I Thinking?, Unmasking the Future, A Guide to End Time Prophecies and Today's Headlines, and a CD that I keep in my car because I love it. In fact, you just heard a little sample there of one of the tracks from that CD called This World's a Mess. The CD itself called Revelation Rocker. We welcome Pastor Caspar McCloud to A View from the Bunker. Caspar, are you there?
I am here. It's great to be with you, Derek.
Well, my apologies for the issues here. I had to switch internet connections and do all this on the fly while trying to keep stuff going on the out over the stream. So, weird situation. Perhaps I'm going to blame it on Josh Peck because that's sort of our default setting. Whenever anything goes wrong at the at SkyWatch TV, we just Josh obviously broke the internet here tonight. So his trouble that he's causing with that new Daily Renegade channel is obviously bled over to this podcast. Coming up in... Oh, and now our dachshund is staring at me through the door. Hi, Sam. Can you wait 20 minutes? That would be great. Coming up in just about a month, in fact, less than a month, a couple of weekends devoted to a music festival called the We2019 Experience Festivals, which not coincidentally fall across the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And you have been invited to participate in this. What is all this about? And how do you as a Christian pastor contribute to something like this?
Well, that's an interesting equation because I really haven't been playing outside of the church for the last 35 years or so, but I came out of that whole industry, and it does kind of make you ask the question, like Johann Sebastian Bach said, music's only purpose should be for the glory of God, the recreation of the human spirit. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of Christians today, they struggle with this question. Can we listen to secular music? It's what do we do with that? I mean, there's obviously some very, very talented people in the secular world. And as you know, I just recently played with my mate Tommy James and the Shondells.
Yeah.
But the interesting equation was that he introduced me as his friend, Pastor Caspar, right? So straight away, that to me opens up a dimensional doorway, and it's a great opportunity to minister. In fact, Tommy and I prayed before we walked out with the band that the Lord would anoint us with the gifts He's given us, and we were going out there for His glory.
Now, this festival coming up in August is going to be, as I said, across 2 weekends, August 9th through 11th, and then the 16th through the 18th in West Jefferson, North Carolina. We2019, again, sort of 50 years on from Woodstock. And some of the groups would be familiar to people who are old enough to remember Woodstock. I was, 7 years old back then. But Jefferson Starship, Canned Heat, John Sebastian of Love and Spoonful, Vanilla Fudge, Melanie, 10 years after, Johnny Winter Legacy, Iron Butterfly, and then, you go down this list of Mitch Ryder, the Detroit Wheels, and then Pastor Caspar McCloud.
How does that work?
Well, that's the question, and I suspect there'll be some Christians who would ask that question. How does that work?
Yeah, it's been interesting because I came out of secular music and never felt like I quite fit, especially in those days. Phil Keaggy led me to Christ, and where do we go from there? I mean, a lot of the music I was doing didn't really fit the norm of the church idea of what music should sound like. And yet, the Lord didn't put any restrictions on it. We kind of think about it. One of the greatest musicians in the Scripture is King David, right? He played the anointed music, and the evil spirits left Saul. And then in the New Testament, we got the Apostle Paul instructing Christians to encourage one another with music, speak to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. So in Ephesians 5, I think. So I think we can worship with a variety. I mean, just the way the Lord gave us all different fingerprints, He likes variety. And I think, sadly, a lot of times in the Christian music world, we've kind of narrowed it into a little box and have limited like a horse with blinders, right?
Well, what they call the 7-11 songs, 7 words repeated 11 times, and there you are. There's your praise song.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed. I was at a service the other day on the young people just, worshiping. They just kind of like got one sentence and they'll sing it 100 times. I thought, I would like to improve on that idea a bit. But yes, it's a great opportunity to. A lot of times I went out with Rick Derringer, which is really how I ended up doing this. Rick had wanted me to play with him back in the 70s, and we reconnected a few years back. And Rick called me up and had a vision of him and I playing in churches, and people were getting saved and people were getting healed. And we went out to a church and played together. And Carmen Aspasi from Vanilla Fudge, he played with just about everybody in the world. He came up and played with us, and we got to talking backstage, and I gave him my book on spiritual encounters with the shrouds, and called me up. He loved it. So, I mean, a lot of the guys that, I grew up with in the music world, they're all asking questions now. Where are we going in the next world?
Yeah.
What happens after this?
Mortality becomes a little more real when you get past the age of, say, 45 or 50.
Yeah, and I think, like you and I were talking, it's kind of a Mars Hill moment for me here, because they are allowing me to speak as well as play. And I feel like the music that we're doing will hopefully be very well received. So, and within the music is the gospel message. So I feel very, very good about going out and doing this right now. I mean, how many people get an opportunity to do something like this?
Well, not many. Now, how much did you have to struggle with this decision? Because again, this is certainly a commemoration of an event that I don't think anybody would call Christian, the Woodstock Festival of 1969. So how concerned were you that people might take away a wrong message by your agreeing to play as part of this We2019 festival?
Well, a couple of things I'd like to share on insights with you. First of all, if you would have asked me a few years ago, I wouldn't have even considered it as a pastor, as a musician, worship leader. But then I did an interview with Daniel Kalinda from Christ for All Nations and met Reinhard Bonnke. A few years back, I was asked to play at Glastonbury.
Oh, yeah.
The manager had asked me if I would play at Glastonbury, and I just felt really uncomfortable. I felt like I'd be like the only Christian with 50,000 secular, heathen, mystic type people there. I didn't want to do it. And then after I met Daniel, I thought, wow, what a great opportunity. I must pass it up. Lord, let me have another opportunity, please. I won't blow it this time. I mean, what a great opportunity to share the gospel with people that need to hear it. We're so much in church, we're preaching to the choir week after week, right? It's like that Mars Hill moment. I mean, a lot of these people have been wandering around in the rock and roll world for all these years with the drugs and the sex and all the rest of the stuff, and they're looking after the new agey stuff. I mean, you wrote an amazing forward for my book, Unmasking the Future, about how this is playing out, that there's like only 9% of real Christians even left in the world today. Well, Joe Horn had made a really profound statement to me one time, not long ago. He said, the haters are going to hate no matter what you do. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the people that are going to appreciate you and pray for you are going to pray for you regardless. So what I'm going to do is ask people, the Christian community, to get behind us. I mean, come out to the concert. Be there to witness and bring the light into the darkness of this world. Be there to love on people that need to, to know Christ, because you represent him. Every Christian's called to be an ambassador of Christ.
This could be a really interesting opportunity. Again, this festival, the We2019 Experience Festival, is 2 weekends, August 9th, 10th, and 11th, August 16th, 17th, and 18th in West Jefferson, North Carolina. August 17th is the date that you'll be playing. And on the bill that day, according to the poster...
The 17th. Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah, August 17th, Jefferson Starship, 10 years after. Derek St. Holmes, who was with Ted Nugent. Mm-hmm. Danny Johnson, who was with Steppenwolf and played with Rod Stewart. Shoot to Thrill, which bills itself as a female AC/DC. Mike Briccato, and then Pastor Caspar McCloud. So again, quite an opportunity there, again, to get outside the choir and share a message. And they are letting you speak at this festival.
They are, yeah. So it kind of comes in between the songs. It's kind of like full circle, because what happened was, when I first started playing outside of the secular world in the church concerts, and I just started speaking so much in between songs, I got ordained. So, I never saw that one coming, right? But I really felt uncomfortable speaking years ago. I was really, real into it. I didn't mind singing and playing, but speaking publicly wasn't, it's amazing how God will take foolish things of this world and confound the wise with it.
Amen.
So,
well, now, what kind of a venue is this? I mean, where is this exactly in West Jefferson, North Carolina? What, is it a stadium? Is it a what exactly kind of a situation would people find there?
I think there's an outdoor stage as well as an indoor place. I think the indoor place is limited to maybe 450 people. So it's all on the website. Mm-hmm. People can meet up on it and see all that's going on. But they've got quite a lot of activities happening, and you can be able to interact with a lot of people, and a lot of celebrities people grew up listening to. You can be able to go one-on-one, have conversations with them, probably eat meals together and all the rest of it. So it's kind of an intimate setting with a whole lot of rock stars from the past.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you think the people who were old enough to go to Woodstock 50 years ago now are, qualify for Medicare. So it's a different... People are in a different place, probably have fond memories in the music, but a little different place as far as their spiritual lives are concerned. And so an opportunity to reach them, perhaps, that you couldn't develop or design something like this as a Christian performer. Hey, let's put together a concert that we deliberately aim at the secular realm and attract this kind of the kind of folks that'll probably be at this festival.
Absolutely. I think about it as a believer. I mean, there will be other believers there. It's amazing to find other people that in the rock and roll world that actually, are born again, spirit-filled believers now. Nowhere in all the scripture condemns any particular style of music. Mm. You're not going to find that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a lot of, secular music, especially since this era is past, and the next several generations have taken it into much darker places lyrically. But and a lot of the stuff back in their time, like with Tommy's music, a lot of it's Christ-centered. People may not realize it, like Sweet Cherry Wine's about communion. Crystal Blue Persuasion, he wrote reading Revelations, and it was about his transition from the world into being born again.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Huh. So, Philippians 4:8 tells us, what we should think on, is it edifying? Is it, have integrity and all the rest of it? So we got, we want to move cautiously, of course, but I think, again, God's got a lot of talented people out there, and we need to connect with people. We need to engage them in conversations, and the Christian community, be really, I think, would be wonderful if they would come out and support this thing.
Well, I'll put links to the We2019 Experience Festivals in the show notes, vftb.net, and wherever else you're partaking of this particular podcast, whether it's Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever else. Of course, vftb.net, the worldwide hub for this particular podcast. You just check the notes and you'll follow the link there for the information. The We2019 Experience Festivals. Caspar, I'm going to close maybe a few minutes ahead of schedule here. Stam is staring at me through the door, which is saying to me he really does need to go outside. And so I think we're going to have to facilitate that. And this is what happens when you're a one-man show doing a live broadcast from home. So, but I've also got a link to Pastor's website, Caspar's website, the Upper Room Fellowship. That you'll find that link there as well, so you can connect with his church if you're so inclined. And Caspar, just hang on the line for a moment, if you don't mind, and we'll say our goodbyes offline here. For you, dear listener, who's put up with the little idiosyncrasies with Skype tonight, we sure appreciate you kind of muddling through along with us as we try to handle the engineering and still speak in a coherent manner. I'll leave it to you to decide whether we've achieved that goal. If you could, we'd appreciate a review at Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever else you find us, which, of course, is wherever fine podcasts are sold. Like our page at Facebook. That's facebook.com/View from the Bunker, which is a production of Gilbert House and released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Our opening theme is Iron Bacon by Kevin McCloud. His website is incompetech.com. Our announcer, D.C. Good. We do this because we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is A View from the Bunker.